For 60 million years after the dinosaurs vanished, the job of apex predator wasn't held by a saber-toothed cat or a giant bear. On one continent, it was a bird. A flightless, 10-foot-tall hunter that stalked some of our earliest mammal ancestors. This is the story of a time when the world was ruled by the terror birds. Imagine a world reborn from ashes. 66 million years ago, an asteroid strike ended the age of dinosaurs, plunging the planet into darkness. But life, as it always does, found a way. As new dynasties rose, small, furry mammals scurried in the undergrowth, ready to inherit the Earth. But they weren't the first to seize the empty throne. On the isolated island continent of South America, a different kind of ruler emerged. They were descendants of the dinosaurs themselves, a line that survived the apocalypse by taking to the air. But in a world suddenly empty of giant predators, they returned to the ground, abandoning flight for a far more terrifying purpose. They became the Phorusrhacidae. A name that might not mean much to you, but we know them by their much more fitting title, the terror birds. For millions of years, South America was an island, cut off from the north by a tropical sea. This isolation created a bizarre and unique evolutionary experiment. Without the big meat-eating mammals evolving elsewhere, there was a job opening at the top of the food chain. The Phorusrhacids happily filled that vacancy. First appearing around 60 million years ago, they began a reign that would last for nearly 60 million years. They exploded into over a dozen different species, ranging from the relatively small, 20-pound Coelopterus to absolute monsters. They were evolution's answer to the question, what happens when birds, not mammals, become the top predators? The grasslands and forests of the Miocene, around 15 million years ago, were their kingdom. Here, they hunted a strange collection of native South American mammals, creatures that looked like a weird mix of horses, camels, and rhinos. For tens of millions of years, the terror birds were untouchable. So what exactly made a terror bird so terrifying? It all starts with the skull. The largest of them, a species called Kelenken guillermoi, had the biggest head of any known bird, living or extinct. Its skull was a massive 71 centimeters long, about the size of a horse's head. But this was no herbivore. It was a weapon, dominated by a huge, hooked beak, like a monstrous eagle's. For years, scientists debated how they used it. Did they crush bone? Grab and shake their prey? Biomechanical studies and CT scans revealed an even more brutal strategy. A terror bird's skull was incredibly strong from front to back, but surprisingly weak against side-to-side forces. This means it couldn't risk grabbing a struggling animal. A violent thrash could literally break its face. Instead, the anatomy points to something else. With incredibly powerful neck muscles, the bird used its head like a living pickaxe. The attack would have been a series of precise, devastating, downward strikes aimed at the skull or spine. But the head was only half the story. These birds were built from the ground up. Their long legs were made for running, with some estimates suggesting they could easily chase down prey. Their feet were armed with massive claws, perfect for kicking or pinning down victims. Standing up to 10 feet tall and weighing over 220 pounds, a creature like Kelenken was the perfect mix of speed and brute force. So what did a terror bird hunt actually look like? Picture the scene, the grasslands of ancient Patagonia. A group of small, hoofed mammals is grazing nervously. And from the tall grass, a massive shape emerges. It's a Kelenken, scanning the landscape. Scientists think they used a couple of strategies. For smaller prey, it was simple and brutal. They might grab the animal in their beak, lift it up, and slam it into the ground until its bones shattered. We actually see this exact behavior today in their closest living relatives, the sirenias. These modern South American birds, though much smaller, kill lizards and snakes by thrashing them against the ground. For larger prey, the hunt was far more terrifying. The bird would use its powerful legs to run down its target. Once it was alongside, it wouldn't bother grappling. It would just deliver those precision, hatchet-like blows with its beak. The goal was a quick kill, a puncture to the brain case or a severed spine. It was a high-risk, high-reward strategy that relied on pure power and accuracy. And that sharp, hooked beak was perfect for ripping into the carcass afterward. For millions of years, the terror bird's reign was confined to South America. But then, the world changed. Around 3 million years ago, the Isthmus of Panama rose from the sea, connecting North and South America for the first time in ages. This sparked one of the greatest migrations in history, the Great American Biotic Interchange. Animals poured across this new land bridge. From the north came fearsome new competitors, saber-toothed cats, giant bears, and wolves. But the traffic wasn't just one way. In an incredible display of dominance, one terror bird went north. This was Titanus walleri, a large species that successfully invaded a continent already filled with advanced mammal predators. Fossils of Titanus have been found in both Texas and Florida. It stands as a powerful counter-argument to the idea that terror birds were just evolutionary relics. For several million years, Titanus thrived, hunting alongside the very same predators that were invading its ancestral home. It was a true clash of titans. Every empire falls. For the terror birds, it wasn't one single event, but a slow decline caused by a 1-2 punch of climate change and competition. The Great American Biotic Interchange, which had showcased their initial strength, ultimately helped seal their fate. The constant pressure from new, intelligent pack hunters and powerful big cats from the north dramatically increased competition. But it wasn't just that they were out-hunted. The world itself was changing. Global cooling turned the warm, stable climates they were used to into cooler, drier environments, altering the savannas they ruled. For a long time, we thought the last of them, including Titanus in North America, died out around 1.8 million years ago. But the story might have a more fascinating, and controversial, final chapter. In South America, a few fossil finds in Uruguay have been dated to as recently as 96,000, and perhaps even 25,000 years ago. If these dates are correct, it suggests that a few smaller, lingering pockets of these incredible creatures survived well into the late Pleistocene. This raises a tantalizing possibility. The first humans arrived in South America around 15,000 to 20,000 years ago. While it's still debated, it is possible that our earliest ancestors in the New World shared the continent with the very last of the terror birds. Today, the world is, thankfully, empty of 10-foot-tall predatory birds. Their epic, 60-million-year reign is over. But their legacy isn't entirely gone. It lives on in the sirena, a small, unassuming bird of the South American grasslands. Genetically, they are the terror bird's closest living relatives. And watching them hunt is like seeing a ghost. They kill their prey by picking it up and slamming it violently against the ground, a behavioral echo of the brutal hunting style used by the colossal ancestors. The terror birds rose from the ashes of a global catastrophe to become apex predators. They are proof that the age of dinosaurs didn't completely end 66 million years ago. For a time, it just learned to run incredibly fast, and to hunt with a beak shaped like an axe. They were the undisputed rulers of one continent, the invaders of another, and a reminder of a time when our world was a very different, and far more terrifying, place. If you were fascinated by this journey into our planet's savage past, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more stories about the incredible creatures that once ruled the Earth. And let us know in the comments, what prehistoric predator should we cover next?